We are back here on the Zero Empty Spaces podcast, episode number 20, with Boca Center resident artist Marcela Ramos Castillo from her Boca Center studio here at 5250 Town Center Circle, Suite 109 in Boca Raton, Florida. If you didn't know about Zero Empty Spaces, we started an initiative as arts advocates and community builders to activate vacant commercial retail spaces and commercial real estate to make affordable artist studios for artists to be able to create in outside their house affordably at $2 per square foot on a month-to-month basis with the water and the electric included. To find out more, you can log on to www.zeroemptyspaces.com. But the point of the podcast is to connect you with the talented artists like her that make the project what it is. So without much further ado, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself at a high level?
Cool. My name's Marcela, and I am currently working out of the South Florida area, teaching artists. So I teach sculpture at the Alexander W. Dreyfoos School of the Arts. It's a mouthful, but Dreyfoos School of the Arts for short. And I paint pictures on a good day. So
Very well.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so that's the gist of it. But,
Okay. And how did this whole thing, not this particular, but how did you get started in the arts initially?
Well, I've been really fortunate to have had a lot of opportunities to, I guess, have my artistic notions nurtured. So, I've been to the middle school and high school that I went to were arts-based schools. Dreyfoos, actually, I did go there as a high schooler. And I was very fortunate to get the opportunity to go to Rhode Island School of Design after that.
AKA?
RISD, yeah, that's the abbreviation, a little known abbreviation. So my time there in New England was definitely high school was very formative for me, just really a time where I was, I think, coming to the conclusion that this is what I wanted to do with my life thus far. And then going to RISD was really just solidifying that. And interestingly, for the longest time, I thought I wanted to go into a very commercial route with my work, maybe working for companies or a sort of client-based dynamic, but I found that I really wanted to come back to, I guess, a more self-motivated, self-driven, sort of like artist, fine art path that I'm currently in the midst of practicing, balancing my teaching responsibilities and dedicating myself as much as possible to creating, cultivating my own body of work.
Amen.
Yeah.
And you've seen a bunch of stuff and you've been a few interesting places. What are some of your inspirations that have led to your work?
Yeah, so I think in the arts realm, so I'll just mention a painter that I really have been inspired by recently, David Hockney, very super prominent British artist, but looking at his work, it's a technical thing and I would say a conceptual thing. Especially looking at his pool paintings, and his landscape work from California, and just first identifying the aesthetic, I would say, the vibrant color, the scenery, and somehow relating that to my own upbringing in Florida. But I think often what I've thought about was how the cultivation of the areas around us is so heavily influenced by, well, I guess in one sense the political atmosphere of
Sure.
those places. And so that it leads me to bring in my own personal experiences growing up here, a child of immigrants, and finding ways to incorporate that into a sort of narrative. And so these technical things that I'm working with, like color and representation, it's a means to, I think, engross the viewer and maybe bring them in to a sort of either feeling or experience, or even speculating and creating this story that if they're not relating to it, at least they can identify with it in some way. And that's a work in progress. I'm still working out ways to do that effectively. I don't believe that you can really, and I know this is kind of going off on a tangent.
No, you're doing it effectively.
But I think the as far as creating these narratives, I don't think that, or at least it's very difficult for the artist to influence how a viewer really feels or interacts with a piece of art. Ultimately, I think there's an experience of having to just let it be what it is to whoever happens to view it. I can't exert that control, but if I could make it like a sensory experience on one level, and then maybe something a bit more emotional or psychological on another, then I think it's done what it has to do.
I think so. And I'd like to bring them in and show them more and show them a little bit of your process. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your process in your studio here?
Yeah.
Standing in front of.
Sure. So with this particular series that I'm working on, it's done in oil, and I intend to keep it that way for now. But I think as far as process goes, the biggest thing that I'm always thinking about is composition. And this is just on a technical level, but thinking about how to arrange these different aspects of the piece. I am working figuratively, or using the human body in different ways. So, and there is a fair amount of, I guess, like I said, representation that I'm going for, representational aspects to it. So accuracy can be an issue. So typically I'll photograph the actual scene that I'm trying to depict, and usually I'm doing that in parts. The reason for that being, instead of just setting everything up, taking a photo and then just copying the photo, it would be like I will take a photo of, let's say myself or the model in one pose, and I'll take a separate photo of another model posing the way that I'd like, and then a separate one for other figures. And there's a sort of collage effect that I'm going for, and trying to allude that to memory in a way, the way that you might experience past events or even future potential events, and how it is a constructed image in your head, right? There isn't reality in that it's happened, it's more that you're putting them together and making it feel like it's happened. So hopefully going for a slightly off-kilter sort of effect, or at least that's what I'm trying to do, is what I'm going for by doing it that way. So after taking photos of the various things, there will be other parts of it that are observational. So, for example, this piece was all done through observation. So I was sitting outside, looking at everything as I was painting it, and then doing it right there and then. Myself here as the model, that was off of a photographic reference. So usually that's the gist of the process, is trying to combine observation and photo reference to create this, like I said, a collage effect in a way. And even the observational part doesn't have to be from the same scene. Typically it might be that I looked at the trees in one area and painted that, and then I saw something in another, either an image or in person, and then I put that on there. So there won't be a specific place that any of these scenes are depicting, but you might, or someone, especially a local to South Florida, might look at it and immediately identify with it. Oh yeah, this is my backyard, or I've seen places like that. So there is, I guess the specificity is that all of these things exist, even if it's not together. And yeah, when it comes to things like color or the painting itself, a variety of brushes for sure, a lot of gel medium, and really trying to differentiate in mark making. So trying to abstract different parts of the nature or even the figure in efficient ways, but also in ways that are aesthetically pleasing, something that someone might appreciate. Almost like trying to create the effect of contrast that if you live in South Florida, you know that it's ridiculously hot. Here and the sun is just oppressively bright. So the way that you might see it in an image might not be true to how you feel it in person. So really upping the contrast, making colors very vibrant. The point isn't really to make it photorealistic, but at least to create a sort of a semblance of that experience of being in the sunlight and just feeling how intense the light and the heat can be.
Wanted to bring you guys in a little bit closer because you might not be able to see everything going on here. You want to tell us just a little bit about this scene?
Yeah. So I think at first glance you'll definitely notice the figure and the plants and grass, but something that I think is just enjoyable about viewing art physically, but even a really detailed image is just little details like this cat, for example. And that was, again, through observation. You're painting and your little animal friends come and watch you while you're working. I just thought it would be nice to include little details like that, almost like surprises for the viewer as they're watching. It's just about capturing your surroundings at any given moment too. So having something spontaneous like that, I think, is also what makes the process really fun. Is you're working and you didn't plan for that in the composition, but it just came together really well and spontaneously without much planning. And that's, I think, what keeps it really exciting, painting these compositions, for sure.
It is very exciting, and I'm very excited. I just recognized your tattoo.
Yes.
So this is you.
Attention to detail.
Yes. So this is you, actually.
Yeah. That is something that I will probably keep exploring as I work on these, because, and I suppose we'll see in the future what future pieces look like, but I am using myself as a model, and, whether people recognize that it's the artist or not, I think won't be the most important element of the pieces, but it will be a sort of thing that I guess someone can grasp, right? That it's a specific person, or that it's someone who could be a real person, whether they knew it was me or not. Those are some of the things that how I'm thinking about it. So
Phenomenal.
yeah.
So what's next for you at this stage?
So ideally, it will be continuing work on this series, making several more pieces, hopefully getting them into exhibitions here and there. As far as where that remains to be seen, but ideally that would be the case. And I think primarily it's just the most important thing right now is to actually get the work done. After that, hopefully, it becomes a easier question as to getting it out there for people to see.
And what are you available for if somebody likes your style? Are you open to commissions, or what types of things can people reach out to you to do?
Yeah, absolutely. Commissions for sure. Particularly if they're looking for something in the realm of portraiture, that's always an option for sure. And if they're looking for a particular aesthetic that they feel that I am best suited for, then that is always something that I am excited to work with. So yeah, that would be great. And definitely if you want to buy all my paintings, so I can buy my yacht, that would also be fantastic.
That is fantastic. What do you like? So what do you like about having a studio to create in outside of your house?
For me, it has been one of the most valuable actions that I could have taken. And I really am, I can't express just how grateful I am that an organization like Zero Empty Spaces even exists. Simply because for me, having a location that I can dedicate specifically and solely to making my art is just super beneficial in terms of time management, efficiency, and really being able to just have a place to focus primarily and solely on the work. I know some people do well in their homes, but for me, I think often that can be a very distracting sort of environment. So being able to get away and just focus on this is invaluable. Like, I can't express how helpful it has been to the process as well. So yeah, it's amazing.
Awesome. So where can I find you on social media?
Great, so they can find me on Instagram at Marcee_RC. So that would be MARCEE_RC. And I am on there for you to find. So go ahead.
Reach out, connect,
Yeah,
engage, commission,
definitely.
follow.
All of that.
This is definitely a bright star, bright future, ones to watch. Very talented. We're very glad to have you in Zero Empty Spaces and appreciate you taking the time to share your work with us.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
My pleasure.